Welcome, workers and friends. Welcome back to Anti-Imperialist America. I'm your host, Dust James, the Marxist Leninist truck driver, coming to you live from my humble home in rural North Carolina. Oh, it is a late night. It is 8:30 in the evening. I need to be in bed by about half an hour to get up early for work. Put in a long 13-hour shift today, but there's no place I'd rather be with you folks, my comrades, my community. Love y'all. Just want to put in a quick plug. Please like this video, share this video, get in the comments, ask a direct question. And I'm honored to be joined by my contact and comrade off Twitter and YouTube, Comrade Rose X. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Right on. I'm glad you're here. So, I don't, I've seen you on Twitter. I know you got good anti-imperialist pro-worker politics. That's why I got you on the show. Maybe you could just briefly introduce yourself a little bit to the audience.
Yeah, Comrade Rose X. I mean, I'm kind of like new to, um, I guess, far left politics, right? I don't know. I kind of went to this weird, kind of like this trend of, being sort of live in my 20s, moving to the right in my 30s, and now come like full circle into like hardcore communist politics.
Right on, right on. I mean, so how long have you been? Are you Marxist? What is your tendency, and how long have you been in that tendency?
I'm
Marxist.
Marxist Leninist. Of course, I
Good.
do try to like keep up with theory and learn as much as I can. Of course, I haven't been studying too all that long, so but I try to like study other things I may not agree with, just to kind of like challenge my thoughts. Sometimes, like read a couple of Maoist type stuff, just kind of like see what it is, but just kind of like strengthen my critical thinking.
Right on. That sounds good. You got a YouTube channel. How long you been doing that? How'd you get started with that?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of like had something originally. I had to get off my chest, and then from there, I was kind of like doing just weird reacts on TikTok that I kind of reposted. And as of late, I've been trying to like do more serious stuff.
Right on, man. Hey, I'm in my early 30s, and that TikTok stuff's a little bit. I tried it, but it's all young folks on there. How you feel about getting on that TikTok? How do you feel about it, man?
I haven't been uploading and really been logging in there as of late. I mean, I know I have more followers on there. I just don't like the app.
Right on, right on. Sorry if I
I
missed.
just know
Uh-huh.
I've just heard that you could blow up on there, so I'm like, okay, maybe I should try this shit out.
Right. Sorry if I misgendered you. What are your preferred pronouns? I
I mean,
apologize.
she, her, because I mean, I
She,
kind of
her.
like
My
blow it
bad.
off when people call me
My
he,
bad,
him, or
comrade.
dude.
My bad. My bad, comrade. Is
I
that
mean, I
better?
kind of just blow
Gender
it off when
neutral.
people do it.
Right
I know
on. Right
some. I know
on.
some. Twitter. Some of the Twitter trends get like really aggro about it, but I'm just like, don't call me late for dinner, right? Southern hospitality.
Right. Are you out of the South?
Yeah, I live in Texas, Houston, Texas.
Right on. Right on. It's good to talk. I've lived in North Carolina, since I was 5 years old, and I got a bit of a Southern accent. I've developed. My accent's it's a little different. I've been a trucker too, so I've been all over the place. Um, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So you got your YouTube show. You've more recently gotten into Marxist Leninist politics. Um, you're good on anti-imperialism as well. I mean, you said you wanted to talk about Syria. I mean, what? Give me some of your takes on either your position on anti-imperialist countries.
Well, I mean, I can't. My take is, I guess, if we're in a world of multipolarity, we kind of have to like you know, be sympathetic to, causes, that, our government is kind of like, antagonizing as far as, the sanctions, the warmongering, try to like, have, class solidarity with, workers of the world,
Right on, right on. So is this mostly online? Have you talked with any workers locally in Texas? Any responses? Any on the ground political work you've been doing through the years or experiences that are notable?
I mean, like mostly online. Of course, I mean, I'm poor myself, so I know a lot of, people, trucking along at, at their jobs,
Right on, right on. How are the conditions on the ground in your community in Texas?
I'm kind of like, well, apparently uh, as of last year, I guess the crime in Houston has gone way up, and I really
Hmm.
don't know like what specifically is causing that to happen, right? Other than, the same old, the economy, but usually Houston has been kind of chill as far as major cities, so that's kind of like wow.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. This COVID is basically a major economic crash. We've seen at least two in my lifetime, three if you count the 2000 .com bubble, 2000, 2008, and 2021 with COVID. It's inflation is rampant. Fuel prices were extremely high. Luckily, they've gone now, but inflation is persisting. There's crime all over the country. I think a lot of people are waking up and realizing that the political narrative that the U.S. is the best in the world and we're the only people with freedom and democracy and it's so great here. Some of that is falling to the ground. It no longer matches the material reality that our people are facing. Is that part of the reason why you came in this direction? Are you seeing more people around you interested in leftist politics?
Yeah, I try to talk to people whenever I can. Of course, sometimes it kind of gets into debates, right? Because I don't even have like a modern Russian flag. I have a Soviet flag, right? And an ex roommate had like a guest over, and he was like, trying to like say, "Oh, Ukraine, Ukraine, look what they're doing to Ukraine." I'm like, yeah, it ain't like you think, man.
Right on, right on. Yeah, that's honestly, I am like an anti-imperialist figure, on YouTube. And but when a lot of these places I go out here, they got people's minds fried. It's like Malcolm X says, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you loving the oppressors and hating the oppressed, and that's exactly what's happening. People hate Russia and they love Ukraine, and
Yeah,
Russia is allied with Nicaragua, Venezuela, Iran. Russia has been giving cheaply food, grain, fertilizer to the most exploited people in the continent of Africa. They've had mutually beneficial trade with the lead socialist power, China, and they're forming an economic bloc that's offering hope to humanity and
yeah,
offering and we're supposed to support the 2014 installed Nazi controlled government in Ukraine and the supposedly progressive party of the two party of the imperialist duopoly is is one of the most militant pushing for more money. But I ain't gonna buy into that. That fakest anti-establishment people that say they're against Ukraine. Nah, no, they're just like the sheepdogs. They're just like Sanders and them that said like they were anti-war and stuff. The second they get a majority, they're gonna be complacent and beholden to the monopoly capitalists who control this country.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen some of B levels content. Ewoks Unhinged, and,
Yeah, good stuff.
and it was, he has a lot of panelists from that are knowledgeable about Latin America, and it's just like how much socialism is being built through the efforts of Russia and China. It's,
Right on, right on. I mean, we're in the American hemisphere,
yeah.
and
So I mean, they're kind of like leading ahead, and we're kind of like fighting over just a lot of petty stuff.
right on, right on.
People getting mad about the race of the Little Mermaid and whatever is going on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of. Uh, I mean, there. I think there is a lot of racism still in this country. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, racism is, has been at the core of the U.S. from its inception, from genocide to slavery to Jim Crow to national oppression today, where black people in this country have a fifth of the wealth of white people have. I mean, this ain't to say that classism doesn't. No, there's poor white people getting exploited, but
Right.
black and brown people have been super exploited in this country, and racism, backs it up.
Yeah, I'm
And
just the point I make is Disney knew what they were doing by making a movie like that, with that modern adaptation.
I mean, I got nothing. I mean, I think it's beautiful to see, black people be represented in films. I think that's a wonderful, beautiful thing. I think the reaction to it is pure racism. Like,
Yeah. I mean, they
it's
kind of like, yeah, people are just getting like really upset about it, and
yeah,
it's just like, oh God.
yeah. Like, what you got? You work your ass off, you know, and the boss treats us like shit, and black folk got it worse, and you gonna get mad because they put some black folks on a TV on a Little Mermaid cartoon
You're
character
right.
you watched back in the '90s? What the hell are you thinking? I mean, they got this hateful right wing media, just like
Yeah, I
adds
mean, it's
flame to
entire
the
grift
fire.
with those people.
Yeah, and we're seeing in our circles. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at, I mean, sometimes I can't tell the difference between Fox News, Tucker Carlson, some of the most disgusting, racist, hateful, pro-imperialist groups. Um, I can't tell the difference between them and people like Hinkle, people like Haas, like it's the same stuff, the same transphobia, anti-LGBT, making fun of people for this Haas dude, making fun of people for their glasses, making fun of people on the way they speak. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think they adopt a lot of the aesthetics that a lot of the Royper types do.
Hmm.
The
I mean, it's
return
like,
to tradition type of memery.
yeah, I mean, working people ain't even like that.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, you work so long, you come up with some conservative values, but I mean, does that mean you hate on people? Like, does the average like working class person like straight up hate somebody because they sound gay or they sound trans or they got a weak academic type voice? I mean, nah. I mean, people they just trying to work and they're like, it's Christmas right now. Christmas is a time of brotherhood and sisterhood. Peace
Yeah.
on earth, goodwill to men. To
Of course,
everybody.
they kind of construct this narrative that big cities are all like one big gay district. That's just like one neighborhood typically in most cities. It's just like one really you know weird neighborhood, right, with a lot of unsavory businesses, and most of the city is just like a condensed version of everywhere else.
Looks like we got a comment.
Churches, a bunch of
Yeah,
churches, a bunch of schools, just normal people just vibing.
gotcha. So let's give a shout out to our comment here. Um, Chaya Bat Taz, I can't pronounce that, comrade. Glad to have you here nonetheless. Says Pat Sox are trying to copy the GOP's playbook by playing into outrage and unproven conspiracy theaters, neither those translate into actual political programs. I think that's absolutely right. When it gets down to it, communist Marxism Leninism isn't about it's not really about social liberalism or social conservatism. Scientific socialism is the understanding of how history moves forward through class struggle and material contradictions. So, I mean, the capitalists got everything. They're in control. They're wasteful. They're inefficient. And we need to overthrow their system and put in a new, better system that leads to better material prosperity for all of us, that actually works more efficient, has a stronger economy, to come together and overthrow them and build a new society based on rational planning. I mean that's what it's all about. And these distractions of, oh, this that's a uh, this whole proud turf bullshit of, oh, women, this that, people, anybody who doesn't conform to the sexual norms is some kind of bourgeois decadent craziness. And I'm like, nah, I don't give a fuck what you call yourself, what gender you want to go by. I want to fucking eat, and I want my family to eat, and I'm tired of people starving, and I want better conditions for me and my community and the world over. And we ain't gonna get that by fighting these issues, fighting these dumb issues over social stuff like this, especially from the more reactionary standpoint. What are people thinking? I mean, it's crazy, no?
Yeah, because I mean, apparently, Jackson Hinkle's a sponsor. I saw something about the owner of it, Birch. I can't remember his name, but apparently he makes money off of porn.
Oh, that's
Also,
crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Hinkle, Birch Gold, which I try to do some research on, and it's not directly connected to the John Birch Society, which is the 1950s like militant anti-communist organization. I didn't see any connections there, but it was kind of, it's like, damn, Birch Gold. But yeah, it is a right wing kind of deal, like investing in gold. It's like corporate sponsors, like, damn, like, I mean, I don't have, I'm not even a journalist. I'm a propagandist for the proletariat. That's the way I put it. I ain't gonna even try to be professional. The so-called, the politics of respectability. I'm here, in my spare time, in my, um, whatever effort I got left. I take time away from my family. I put effort into this. I try to keep this YouTube going purely for the benefit of spreading knowledge and understanding to fellow working class people. I try to lift up fellow anti-imperialists to get the message out there that's going to improve the conditions in my community. That's it. I
yeah, because
ain't
I
got
mean, like,
time for this stuff.
yeah, because I know like 56% of those who are registered did not vote in 2020. So I mean, that's like a very large, like untapped, resource of people that can be pulled over and persuaded.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, when it gets down to it with bourgeois politics, I think there is that trend where a lot of people don't vote, and the reason why they don't vote is because they've lost faith that anything will change within the current bourgeois political system. I mean, but and when it comes down to it, I think Marxist organizing is completely independent of bourgeois politics. Like, we're pushing something completely and utterly different. I mean, I think the Republicans cater to more rural voters, um, more white voters, more honestly, more middle class voters, and Democrats cater to more urban voters, more black and brown voters, more younger folks, um, and they try to virtue signal to to be liked by those communities. But when it gets down to it, they're wholly controlled by the same few oil and banking cartels.
Right. Yeah.
And our politics, trying to organize people on class and national material contradictions. We're trying to get people engaged in class struggle. And honestly, that entire concept is apolitical in the sense of bourgeois politics. Like, honestly, I don't see a benefit in this point in time of supporting either Democrats or Republicans, but actually making broad class appeals to working class and oppressed people, regardless if they have a political affiliation or whether or which party within the imperialist duopoly they support.
Yeah, meeting them where they're at. That's kind of like the the
Right
go-to.
on. Right on. So, I mean, you got your YouTube going, you got your Twitter going. If you had to think about, like, what are you about and what message are you trying to get to the people briefly, what do you think, what would your response be?
Well, I mean, I guess to put it simply, hey, we're all in this together. We can, work to, build a, real future for our families, for future generations.
Right on, right on. I love it. It's good stuff. Um, yeah. So that's where I'm at, and I I like I'm like I don't really understand. I mean, you're older than me. I don't really understand. A lot of younger folks, are more accepting of the LGBT community, and I think it's a beautiful thing. I came up in elementary school in the '90s in the South. Went through school in 2000, saw it improve a little bit better. Um, but I remember, I mean, trans people are still being killed. Face discrimination on the works on the, in employment. In North Carolina, they basically they fear monger
Yeah, Texas,
around.
they're actually
Yeah.
collecting IDs for for registration. I'm glad that my dead name is my driver's license. Oh my God, that's just like crazy to think about. Because I've
What do
been
you
thinking
mean?
about like moving to a different state. Just I mean, it doesn't even have to be like it doesn't even have to be like California or New York or whatever. It just not Texas.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I think I mean I love working people and I want people to progress. And I think a lot of it is poverty. And a lot of the backwards stifling, controlling, repressive gender, binary, etc., is what is used to control society when there is scarcity. It's a way of elevating members of society over others to divvy out the small portion that we have. And if we were able to expand the material wealth and there was more to go around, grow the economy, give workers rights, I think, and have better education, I think we could progress socially
Yeah.
on these
I know
issues.
that
So,
Republicans they kind of like know that their platform economically is not popular with working class people type people, so they have to create a moral panic to kind of like throw people into it.
yeah, that's the same. I mean, that's the same thing here with North Carolina and the bathroom bills. Basically, I mean, what are the statistics on trans people molesting children? It's almost, it's almost non-existent. I mean, the
Right.
trans community isn't any more likely to be predators than any other community. Like, and then there's all of a sudden, oh, we gotta protect the children and we gotta stop the trans people from going to the bathroom of their choice, or or women and girls are gonna be assaulted. And there's
It's
absolutely
like the
no
original Satanic Panic of the
yeah, there's no
70s
proof
and
of it.
80s. People went to jail for shit they didn't
Yeah.
do, and then they wind up getting exonerated years later after they literally went to fucking prison for false pedo shit.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
like they're
exactly
fucking like it's like the politicians are consumed with that shit. It's like Jesus
yeah,
Christ, you're sick, man.
yeah. I mean, Pat McCrory in our state was in with the Duke Energy, which which they basically had a coal ash spill and dumped toxic chemicals into our water system. They created the lottery, which at the same time they created the lottery, this is a while back. The same time they created the lottery, they had a cut. They had a tax cut on the richest corporations. The same amount of money that the lottery was going to create. So I mean, and they cut education. The Republicans in the South, they cut education. And how do they keep winning after they do all this horrible, stupid shit? They get people worked up over abortion, over trans people going into bathrooms, and they play on people's social conservatism and people's most reactionary tendencies so they can get elected and continue the austerity policy, the right to work policy that keeps the South and the Black Belt in its place and super exploited. The South, including Texas, North Carolina, the Black Belt, I mean, Aslan and general, a lot of these places. Republicans are in power throughout Texas, um, throughout the South, and they have some of the worst policies on the local level that keep these regions in poverty. And they do it with this social manipulation through right wing politics. I mean, you're absolutely right.
Now I guess the problem with the Democrats. I guess they kind of like try to pander and walk the line, but they fuck it up horribly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the places where the Democrats have been in power, like California, Chicago, I mean, they might talk a better game, but I mean, there's horrible poverty, there's discrimination, racism. Nothing has improved for working people in the places Democrats. Now, I will say this: if you look at the areas where that are the poorest areas outside of Aslan, like California has a lot of poverty. If you look at Texas, Arizona, I mean, this is Aslan, but I'm just minus California, where there's a lot of poverty. A lot of these places in the South, are Republican controlled places.
Yeah,
On the local level, um, Democrats have horrible policies, and
yeah. I
there's
know.
more
I know in L.A.
in
there's actually like
yeah.
uh, a city councilman like throwing hands with protesters and I guess like just saying like talking mad cash shit like fuck you and all that stuff.
Yeah, when it gets down to it, it's not that both parties are represented by the same banks and oil companies. They just play off of each other and try to blame it. If you don't vote us, who are you going to have? Those people, and they have their own set of problems, and they just switch places. And it's
Right.
really evident on the federal level. On the federal level, there's like almost little or no difference between the two. Like they all, regardless of who you vote for, the poor stay poor and the bombs never stop. You
Yeah, I mean
know,
you look at cinema and mansion, it's just like they kind of just do what big oil wants, and it's just like yeah, forget about the shit I campaigned about.
mm, I hear you. So I mean, how is it? Um, how I'm not sure if you're more if I don't know if you go by Rose just on social media, or if you kind of express your gender and your in real life. But I mean, if you do, how is the response in Texas um, with regular working people? I mean, how is your experience with that?
Well, a lot of times I'll man mode in a lot of situations, because it's just like not all safe to do it. But I mean, like I try to make sure I have someone go with me if I do go out presenting, full out, full on.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. you know, I mean, I am who I am, and I go out, and it's socially accepted. I can't imagine trying to be who I am and then having to face violence because of that. And I don't understand that experience, and
Yeah, because I
solidarity.
went to a memorial back in September for a trans woman who was just shot at random.
Mm,
Mariela Castro
mm.
in my
Yeah,
city. Like it was just completely random. Like she had no enemies. It was just like a random shooting. I mean, I guess we can guess it was hate related, but like with no suspect, it's just a cold case.
mm. And it happens like that. We in North Carolina here in just a county south of me, we had a right wing terrorist attack on our electric grid. There was a drag show at a local theater that they had planned, weeks in advance. It's a local theater in the South. Usually it's the more liberal crowd, people with a little more money that go to, the local theater. And I don't think there was an age, like I'm not sure if there was an age limit, but through pressure, they eventually, when the advertisement went out, it did say their flyer did say 18 and older. Like you're only allowed to be 18 and older. They were just going to have a regular drag show, and there was protesters. I think at least 15, 20 protesters outside. And halfway through the night, um, the power goes out. And then later on social media, this woman who was, in with some of these right wing groups said, "Oh, I'm glad it happened, and I know why it happened." And she was friends with the cops, and there was two simultaneous attacks on power substations, and 40,000 people went without power for almost a week, and they never found out who did it. They said they were investigating. There's pictures with this right wing person who said they was cheering on this terrorist attack. It was it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I mean, I know did you hear about this event? What is your
Yeah, oh, yeah,
response?
I heard about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
there's a
was
lot
like
of crazy stuff, with drag stuff in Texas. I mean, I actually avoided pride parades in my city not because of the, counter protesters that I found out later on, people protesting later on, but because I noticed that people were, repping Ukraine flags there. So, like, I didn't go for
uh
an unrelated reason and found out, damn, I dodged a bullet.
yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, there is imperialist politics within the LGBT plus community, but I think there is anti-imperialist. Yeah, it was kind of beautiful what happened down in I think it Southern Pines. It was in Chat, I believe, Chatham
Well, I mean,
County.
I think like in single issue, type of causes, you have all types, right? I mean, that's kind of
Yeah,
like how it
yeah.
goes.
Yeah, I mean, there was it was the what took place at the when the terrorists shut down a drag show just south of here. Um, it was kind of beautiful. There was like 15 or 20 protesters. I mean, I'm reading this from articles. I wasn't there. I
Yeah,
didn't even
San
know it was
Antonio,
that.
yeah.
I mean, no, it was I think it was Pinehurst. It was just south of here, Chatham County.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about one in San Antonio as well. They were like, kind of like
Wow.
they mobbed up on the street and it was like,
Yeah, there was like 15 or 20 outspoken people with a megaphone, and there started to be a counter protest, right? And then when the lights went off, the people from the drag show went out and joined the counter protest. And then by the end of the night, through social media and other things, the counter in a small town in rural North Carolina, the counter protesters outnumbered the protesters, and they were singing songs. I think it was a beautiful thing. I think it was a sign of progress in dark times, with this harsh economic reality and the worsening economy. People, they looking for somebody to blame, and, and
yeah,
people
I mean,
want
with
to blame.
terror,
Yeah,
I
go
mean, when
ahead.
terrorism, kind of like fucks things up for an entire town, and yeah, I mean, normal everyday people are going to be sympathetic to,
Yeah,
the cause of good. You know what I'm saying? I guess you know how it,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I had like straight right wing conservative people that have called me a communist and give me death threats. I had them on social media being like, "Hey, this lady really shouldn't be like breaking the law, and she's just being crazy to further her own career." And like there was legitimate criticism from like average Republicans. This shit went so far. Like it's really scary. Um, what people are willing to do, risk jail, willing to shut down people's power, which could, I mean, that's people's livelihoods. Like you shut down power, you shut down workplaces, you're taking money out of working people's hands that they need to survive. You're talking about people who need the power for health. You talk about people with food in the refrigerator that's probably went bad in a week. How much is that grocery bill with this inflation? And people are willing to do that because they're all drummed up by these people. They don't give a fuck about them. Honestly, like that lady down there, that fascist lady down there supporting terrorists, she don't give a fuck about our community. And she's willing to say, "Oh, it's for the greater good that 40,000 people lost power."
Yeah,
Nah,
kids not being able to eat and everything.
yeah, I'm like, and people recognize people aren't stupid. People are, I mean, honestly, I don't think if you ask the average working person, they might listen to Fox News and they might crack up a joke about, oh, people don't even know who women are and stuff. But if you get down to it, at the end of the day, what they really want is they just want to be able to eat. They just want a better life for their family. And I think that's something we can unite on. And that's, I think we got to protect, LGBT comrades and trans comrades and fellow workers. But I think this stuff being put out by both sides, well, first of all, this ain't a both sides issue. I mean, we got terrorists on one hand, and we got people who wanted to have a performance art in a theater on the other side. So there's not really both sides. But I think the bourgeois media, gets us to hate on each other. Gets us to fight over these social issues. When in reality, we just need to respect everybody's gender expression, and get people together on these issues about fighting for better wages, fighting for more health care, fighting for human rights. What's your take on this?
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of like hit all the nails on the head. I mean, we kind of like, we're all trying to, build and pursue, our, goals in life. I think the human innovation to create. I think that capital kind of holds that down, and I mean, hopefully there's a fire in the belly of the American people, and we can have class consciousness.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's very scary stuff that's going on, and you look at the stuff that we kind of like forgot about, as far as like police brutality against black people, and a lot of issues that people just kind of like take for granted. Hispanics kind of getting labeled as illegal or what not by police, because I know I've seen that happen a lot in Texas.
Hmm.
Small towns, cops just like friends of mine who were born here, they speak English. Cops will pull them over and call them the W slur. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. That's disgusting, man. I mean, if you get in the history of Texas, um, I mean, it was part of Mexico. I mean, it was, basically stolen by the United States. I mean, white settlers came in. They wanted to keep their slaves. They revolted to keep their slaves. And then you look at Texas Walker Ranger. The Texas Rangers, their whole job was keeping down Chicano people in their own homeland. And then to this day, that's exactly what we were talking. The racism, that is their job. The job of the Texas police and police throughout this country isn't to protect people, isn't justice. It's to keep poor and working people down and maintain class and national oppression. And I think there's a lot to. I think as people in the United States who don't face national oppression, non-black and brown people. I think when we're looking to raise ourselves up, we ain't got no choice but to raise up those who are the worst treated amongst us. That's
And
what
ICWA,
socialism is about. Yeah, go
and
on, speak
ICWA,
on it.
that lawsuit apparently stemmed out of Texas, and it's kind of like, I mean, we've been having this genocide that we kind of like want to brush under the rug, but it's an ongoing thing. It's not like a past event.
Hmm.
It's the genocide is still going on. More land taken, every
Hmm.
year.
Yeah, I mean, you're down there in Texas. I mean, Chicano people. I mean, people that border cross them, who have indigenous heritage are likely to live in the poorest conditions, have the least amount of resources given in the form of healthcare, education. Like I said, more likely to be killed by the cops. And then our immigrant brothers and sisters who are fleeing conditions from Mexico caused by policies like NAFTA that destroyed the Southern Corn Belt. These are people also of indigenous heritage who come here or have their families separated by La Migra, that are undocumented and have limited work opportunities and are exploited, not paid. I mean, there's instances of La Migra companies having immigrant workers work for a month without pay and then calling immigration to get them deported to not pay those wages. And this is national oppression. This is the continuation of genocide. And it ain't like if this what they try to tell us is, oh, there's a picture with the boss man at the table and the plate of cookies, and the boss man got a whole damn plate of cookies, and there's one cookie for the immigrant worker and the native worker there. I mean, or the worker that was born there and has legal status, and the immigrant worker who has probably of indigenous ancestry, like he wants your cookie. Well, goddamn, the boss got 9 out of 10. Why are we fighting over the one cookie? It's like that's what they want to do. They want to say, oh, if you want to keep your position, what's really happening is, these people who work worse jobs than you are stealing your job. It's like, what the hell? It's crazy.
Yeah, and like politicians like Ted Cruz will fearmonger about communism in Mexico of all places, and Honduras causing the immigration problem. I mean,
Ah,
Nicaragua, people there ain't rushing to come over here, so things are better, relatively speaking.
yeah, I think things have improved under the Sandinistas. People are coming from. It hasn't been like there was a huge wave of Mexican immigrants in the '90s. That was a lot of my classmates came up during that wave from southern Mexico. Um,
Yeah, it has
a lot of
actually
people close to
calmed
me.
down, but the fear
Yeah,
mongering is still going on.
no, a lot of the more recent immigration wave was from Central America, and we're talking about country like the 2009 coup in Honduras put half the minimum wage, and that was under President Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, the Hillary Clinton State Department, that cooed President Zelaya, a progressive president in Honduras. And a lot of the people have been coming from Central America, and these are capitalist countries, and people are fleeing capitalism and coming
Yeah,
to the place where the wealth was stolen and put in the United States. It's
that's
like
kind of like how that's got to blame communism for the failures of capitalism.
exactly. That's exactly what's that mean group? Capitalists blaming socialism for the problems of capitalism again.
Yeah,
we've been on here about 45 minutes. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Is there any ideas or thoughts or message that you'd like to leave our audience with?
I mean, see, I guess, everyone be safe, and don't give up hope for a better tomorrow.
Right on, right on. I really enjoyed having you on the show, um, fellow comrade, anti-imperialist, fighting in the South, basic human dignity and rights for all of us. We're gonna end the show. I usually do a chant. I know people can't see you. That's fine. Um, I'm gonna teach you a chant. I know it sounds a little hokey. I'm gonna say "Dare to Struggle," and I want you to repeat back "Dare to Win." All right, here we go. Dare to struggle.
Two to win.
All power to the people. Thank you. Good night, everyone.